Hey guys, so today I want to talk a bit about the recent US presidential election that happened this year, 2024. And of course, most people know by now that Donald Trump has won the election as the second president ever to win a term as a non consecutive presidential term. The first was Grover Cleveland all the way back in the 1800s. So it is historic. Yeah, there's just some things I want to talk about. Like a lot of people are wondering how the heck did Donald Trump get reelected again? So yeah, I do want to talk about this and about Kamala Harris and the things that the things that she did right and the things that she did wrong. And the Democratic Party did a lot of things wrong, of course. And yeah, just like a lot of people that didn't really understand why Trump won re-election. So I do want to talk a bit about that in this video, my reaction to Trump winning as well. And first, I actually want to start off by going over his first election win, which was in 2016. And yeah, I actually recorded a reaction to myself to him winning in 2016. So let's go over that first, and then I'll get on to my thoughts about the 2024 election. Okay, so let's first off the 2016 reaction video here that I recorded 8 years ago. So wow, time flies. Okay, so yeah, this was my reaction to 2016 Donald Trump winning.
Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about politics. So if you guys don't like politics, then feel free to watch another video. Feel free to skip this one. Yeah, I just want to talk about Donald Trump winning the 2016 election and my thoughts about the future and some of my thoughts about the political process. And I haven't really talked too much about it on my blogs or on my videos until now. So I do want to discuss it because Donald Trump will be President of the United States in about 2 weeks. And yeah, I just want to give you guys some of my thoughts. First of all, I'm just as surprised as anyone when Donald Trump won the election. Yeah, I just couldn't believe that he won, and it was all the mainstream news outlets and the political pundits, even my favorite statistics-based site, and I love stats, 538.com, which correctly predicted all the states in the 2008 election and 2012 election. They had Trump's chances of winning at only 30%, and other sites had Trump's chances of winning only like 10% or something like that. Hillary, had Hillary's chances were like 90%, like and 538.com was even 70%, which is still pretty good. All the betting sites and stuff had Hillary's chances at more than that. So I was just as surprised as anyone when he won. It's unbelievable because not only did he win and prove everyone wrong, but he won with states that haven't voted Republican in like 3 decades, like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and it's really shocking to me, like, because I thought that like most political pundits, I thought that the demographic shift that had gained the U.S. more blacks, Latinos, Asians, and stuff, and all the young voters who were shifting towards more Democratic, towards the Democratic Party. I thought that the Republicans didn't have much of a chance to win the presidency again. So obviously we were wrong, and I was wrong. And furthermore, Trump is, he's not a typical candidate. He was just like scandal after scandal. It was like not releasing his tax returns, then he was bragging about sexual assault. And I guess really none of that mattered in the end because Obama's diverse coalition and his young voters, they just didn't come out for Hillary. And I realized that Hillary was a very flawed candidate. She just didn't have the charisma. She couldn't get people excited enough. And white voters really, I guess they hated her enough that it didn't matter. People really want to change, and they want to change so badly that they voted in the first president in U.S. history that never had any political or military experience before. And I want to talk about the political process a little bit because in the U.S. it's a little bit different than
Okay, yeah, just stop there. But basically, as you guys can see in 2016, oh man, I looked so much younger back then, by the way. Wow. Man, I want to go back to 2016 because, yeah, I was like 28 years old back then. Wow, what a time. Man, wish I could be young again. And I still was in my San Francisco apartment, which I no longer have because of the cryptocurrency exchange collapse, that all the scam stuff that I went through. But anyways, yeah, that was a blast from the past for me to see this again back when I was much younger and had my apartment and my life savings and everything. And that was just such a different time compared to now. But yeah, so in 2016, Donald Trump, when he won the election, I think this one was very surprising to most people, myself included. It's just all the polls had Hillary winning the election, and as you guys saw, I was genuinely surprised, just like everyone else. Betting markets had Hillary winning, all the pollsters had Hillary winning, everyone had Hillary winning. This time in 2024, it's different because, to be honest, like Trump actually had a pretty good chance of winning, and I was not surprised at all. Like, I actually predicted Donald Trump would win. I gave him like a 60% chance to win this time. I think in 2016, I didn't give him any chance to win. I just thought Hillary would just, I mean, I had all my bets on Hillary. So I didn't give him any chance of winning in 2016. But 2024, he had a pretty good chance to win. Gave him like a 60% chance to win, and he won. And he won pretty decisively, as I expected. I thought it was either going to be, if Harris was going to win, if Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, was going to win, it was going to be by a very small margin. But if Trump won, it was going to be decisively, because of the fact that Trump has this effect where if he wins, all of his polls or whatever are always like 3 to 4% off about him. Like, he always outperforms his polls every time. If you guys look at 2016, 2020, he always outperforms his polls. So I knew if Donald Trump won, he was going to win pretty decisively, and that's what happened. We can take a look at the map. Okay, so I gave Kamala Harris like 40% chance of winning, Trump about 60% chance of winning, because the polls were just so close right before the election. And I knew that the polls were underestimating Trump like they always do. But yeah, you know, I put a little bit faith in the polls, so I thought, okay, maybe there's a chance Harris could win, but it's going to be very difficult for her, because she had to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. She had to win all 3 of these in order to win, whereas Trump only needed to win 1, right? And the polls for RealClearPolitics.com actually had Pennsylvania a little bit ahead for Trump, and he ended up winning all 3 anyways. And that's not surprising either, because honestly, if you won Pennsylvania, there's a good chance you'll win Michigan and Wisconsin too. But yeah, I give Harris, like, you know, a little bit benefit of a doubt, because yeah, there's like a small percentage she could have won all 3. But really, it was Trump's. Trump had the better chances of winning. He only had to win 1 of these, and he ended up sweeping all the states. So yeah, it's not really surprising to me. The polls for Real Clear Politics had Harris a little bit ahead in Wisconsin, Michigan, but it was all within the margin of error anyways. Like, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, they were all like 0.6, 0.8 in one direction or the other. So if Trump carried 1 of them, likely to carry all 3, because they all usually vote the same way. Trump outperformed his 2016 results, and he won the popular vote this time. So yeah, I'm not really all that surprised. I mean, yeah, I gave Harris like a little bit of chance of winning still, like, but yeah, Trump winning doesn't surprise me this time, like in 2016. And the reason why, I'll tell you guys why. Okay, so I wrote up this this one on Quora, and for the past week, I've been telling everyone, my friends, people on Quora, that Trump had a pretty good chance of winning. Everyone on Quora was, I mean, Quora is a left-leaning site, okay, but still, it kind of surprised me just how many people on Quora believed that Harris was going to win. Like, a lot of them were just straight up delusional. They had maps where Harris was sweeping the entire U.S. One of them had a 1984 Ronald Reagan style sweep. Like, almost every state was turning blue, and it doesn't make any sense, right? I know that people are delusional on here, and they really thought Harris was going to win. Like, people on Quora, like, all the upvoted answers, they had Harris winning. I put all my answers on Quora saying that Trump, I predicted Trump to win, and no one upvoted them. I'm like, okay, well, I know you don't like it, like, people don't like Trump to win, but come on, you're in denial here if you don't think he has a good chance to win. All the polls literally had Trump ahead, by like a small margin, but still he was ahead. And that's the key thing is like Trump was ahead in the polls. He was ahead by a little bit, but he was still ahead. And that's important because Hillary was never behind in the polls. Biden was, of course, never behind in the polls. So, like, Hillary was ahead of Trump in the polls, and she still lost. So, yeah, Biden was ahead by a lot. He won, but he had to be ahead by a lot. He was ahead by like 7 points in the polls. Yeah, and he ended up winning by only like 2 or 3. So that tells you need to be really, really ahead of Trump in order to have a chance to win. Okay, so Hillary was only ahead of Trump by like 2 points, 3 points, or something like that in the battleground states, right? The polls got it off, obviously, that year, and Trump ended up still winning. For Harris, she was behind in a lot of the battleground states. She was actually behind. Trump was actually ahead of her. So I'm like, dude, the people in Quora, they're the delusional, all the Harris voters. They're being delusional if they think that Harris has a good chance to win, because what history has shown us, 2016, Hillary was actually ahead of Trump in the polls. She still lost. Biden had to be very ahead of Trump in the polls in order to win. He only won by a little bit, by the way. Biden only won by like 40,000 votes, like in the 3 battleground states, right? The Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. He only won by that little amount, even though he was very ahead in the polls. So that goes to show, in order to beat Trump, you got to be very ahead in the polls, right? Harris was not very ahead of Trump in the polls. She was behind. Hillary was never behind. Biden was never behind. So I knew that that Trump had a good chance to win. Like, the fact that Trump always outperforms his polls, and the fact that Trump was actually ahead of Harris in most of these polls, I mean, it's game over for Harris, right? Game over for Harris. But the thing is, I still gave her the benefit of a 40% chance to win. But I knew that if Trump won, he was going to win big, because I knew he always outperforms his polls. But yeah, people in Quora were in denial. They weren't like. I'll show you some of the stuff that they were talking to me about. Some of the stuff I saw in Quora was crazy. Okay, so I think part of the reason is people just really did not want Trump to win. Like, they could not fathom people voting for Trump. Like, they're like, okay, this time, the first time Trump, people were giving him the benefit of a doubt. They didn't really know much about him, how he would perform. But this time they know about him, and he's a convicted felon. He has all these felony counts. He's doing all this crazy stuff. People know about him, and they still voted for him. And people can't believe that. They couldn't believe that people would vote for Trump again. But that's a bad assumption to make, right? And part of the reason is, I paid attention to mainstream media. And by mainstream media, I mean like NBC, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, Washington Post. Like, these are all very, New York Times, these are all very left-leaning, The Economist, right? These are all very left-leaning media sites. And all the talk show hosts, right? Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, like these two especially. Jimmy Fallon, not so much. Jimmy Fallon tends to be a little bit more, like, he tends to play it safe a little bit more, but Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, for sure, they hated Trump. And so everything that Kamala Harris did, like everything she did, her crowds, she kept talking about how much bigger Kamala Harris's crowds are because Trump keeps talking about his crowds. So they kept showing Kamala Harris's crowds. Oh, they were bigger. Okay, there was one poll from Iowa that showed her ahead. That one, that was like a statistical outlier, and they made everyone believe that, oh, people are going to go crazy for Harris because of this one poll from Iowa. Yeah, the mainstream media made people believe that. Her debate performance, everyone's like, yeah, Kamala Harris crushed Trump at the debate. So Trump has no chance, right? Okay, and that Puerto Rico joke at the Madison Square Garden that said Puerto Rico's floating piece of garbage, right? The media really played that one up, and it's like, yeah, this is the end of Trump. Like, there's Puerto Ricos in Pennsylvania. There's no way they're going to vote for Trump after that. And guess what? This was all a bubble, okay? This was all delusional thinking because it's a bubble. Like, you're surrounded by people who are hyping Harris up and everything, and you're just completely dismissing everything that's pointing to Trump winning, okay? So the thing is, there's a lot of signs that Trump was going to win. There was all these polls that were telling people, even NBC, like all the Gallup, all these polls that were telling people that Harris was losing support. among young voters. She was losing support among Latino voters. She was losing support among black voters. Um, they said that she was getting a lot of women voters, but as it turns out, she didn't even get the support from women voters. Yeah, even that level has went down. So anyways, like all these polls were telling people before, hey, there's an issue here with Harris. But they didn't pay attention to it. People on here did not pay attention to those polls at all. They just completely dismissed them, and they kept trying to believe this hype. And then another issue is the selection bias. So people on here kept saying they knew family and friends who voted for Harris, or Republicans who voted for Harris. So that means that everyone's voting for Harris, right? No, that's you're surrounding yourself with people who are in the same social status as you, right? If it's your coworker, your neighbor, whatever, they're either in the same area, social status, or political status. Of course, they're going to be thinking more like you. And you're not really going to be making friends with people that think very differently than you. So, of course, you're not going to be running into people who are voting to Trump. That's the thing, the selection bias there. The 2022 midterm performance, everyone was talking about how bad Democrats overperformed. Well, that's false confidence, because the thing is, Trump was not on the ballot in 2022 midterms. And Trump always outperforms his polls. That's the thing. He's a unique politician. You have to admit that. Even if you don't like him, you have to admit he's a unique politician. There's no other politician like him. So he's the thing about how Trump being so crazy is that the craziness appears to people as being genuine, whereas Kamala Harris just appears to people as just another politician. Trump just appears genuine to people, even though he says crazy stuff. But the fact is, people like that. They like the fact that it makes them genuine. So I'll go over all these things that people were telling me about, right? Actually, some of these answers here on Quora, they're very highly upvoted answers. All the highly upvoted answers were pro-Harris, right? So look at this guy. How delusional do you have to be to think Florida and Alaska flip for Harris? I won't be shocked if Ohio and Iowa do, or Texas. Come on. Texas for Harris? I mean, what? This is delusional, right? Okay, Florida is basically solid red state now. Alaska's always been solid red. Texas? Come on. That's always been solid red state. The popular vote will be a landslide for Kamala, no doubt. Okay. Where are they getting these from? Like, in this one, it says, Republican pollsters are flooding the swing states with Trump-biased polls. I don't think they are. What proof was there that they were Trump-biased, right? If anything, they underestimated Trump again. So, and he says, I'll call bullshit on Trump leading the polls. Okay, well, I don't think Trump is enough exception to win this one. So it's people cannot comprehend Trump winning re-election. They just cannot. See how many upvotes this one got? And then this is what I said, right, to some of these delusional answers. I said, the younger woman voting for Harris is completely being countered by the margin of younger men who are voting for Trump. And I warned people about this, right? I posted this Wall Street Journal graphic that's showing that young men are voting for Trump more than the younger women are voting for Harris. And the people didn't believe me. He says, oh, it's Wall Street Journal, and it's another propaganda stuff. And okay, it's just, you don't want to believe the data that's against what you believe, right? So it's like, I'm giving you data, you just don't want to believe it because you don't want Trump to win. I gave him another poll, this one by NBC News, which is definitely left-leaning. So yeah, it says Trump, and this is before the election, of course. This is I was just giving this poll. This was done before the election. Men 58% to 40%. 58% Trump, 40% Harris. Women 57% Trump, 41% Harris. Right? So I'm telling you that young men are going for Trump in a big margin. It's backed up by all the data, and he basically blocked me. He says, oh, you used an image and neglected to link the article. You obviously know how to do it. Do what? What's missing is the relative turnout of the two groups. Why did you leave such a critical piece of information out? It's a mystery, that's for sure. Blocked. I've recently become determined to stop banging my head against walls. It's been quite liberating. You know what happened in the election? Women didn't turn out. Young women didn't turn out. So this guy says, what's missing is the relative turnout of the two groups. Yeah, you're right. The turnout is not there, but it's for women. So the men turned out, but the women didn't turn out as much. So it's in the opposite way that he expected. He thought that women turned out more than men do, but no, actually what turned out is the young women didn't turn out for the election. Harris, the turnout is an issue for Harris because she lost something like 17 million less votes than Biden did, or something like that. Like, yeah, like the women were not turning out for her. Actually, just Democrats were not turning out for her at all. I left a comment on another answer. It says, confirmation bias. You see Harris leaning polls, those must be accurate. You see Trump leaning polls, those must be inaccurate. You want Harris to win so badly, you're distorting your own reality. That's what I said to this Mike Jones guy, okay? And this Mike Jones says, I specifically didn't say the things you're claiming I said. Now, how fucking stupid do you have to be not understand the differences between voting and betting markets? Because I was talking about the betting markets, right? So the betting markets, look, so this is different than 2016. 2016, I was shocked because even the betting markets had Hillary favored to win. This time, the betting markets favored Trump to win. It was like 65 to 35. The betting markets had Trump winning by 65 to 35 Harris, right? And at this time I was posting it, it was 55 to 45. Okay, but Trump still was ahead in the betting markets. And he says, how stupid do you have to be not understand differences between voting and betting markets? For starters, you don't have to be a registered voter. Okay, you don't have to be a US citizen. One person can drop a huge bet, but they can only cost one vote. Okay, but why would you bet a large amount of money if you didn't think that they were going to win? Third, I explained how a bunch of garbage polls are manipulating the averages at the aggregators. Well, if they turned out to be garbage, they were garbage in the other direction. They still underestimated Trump. So, like Real Clear Politics had Trump ahead by, 0.1 in the national vote? He ended up winning by, 4%? Near 4% in the popular vote, right? But Real Clear Politics had him at 0.1. So they're underestimating Trump, if anything. So again, the polls always underestimate Trump. They said 0.1. Trump was going to win by 0.1% of the popular vote. He ended up winning by like almost 4%. They said that Trump was going to be ahead in the battleground states by 0.8. He ended up being ahead by like 1.7 to 2%. So they're still underestimating Trump, right? So he says a bunch of garbage polls are manipulating the averages. Yeah, the polls were wrong. They were wrong in the other direction. They were underestimating Trump still. And this guy was thinking that they're underestimating Harris. No, they're underestimating Trump. They always do. And the reason for that is because there is a lot of voters, Trump voters, who don't want to tell people that they're voting for Trump for fear of being publicly shamed. And also a bunch of voters that are living in rural areas that you're not getting, that are voting for Trump. That's why the polls are always off in favor of Trump. Okay? And I said, okay, sure, polls can be unreliable, but historically Trump has always outperformed his poll numbers. I was telling people about this, right? And what happened? Again, he outperformed his poll numbers, like I said. So, and then I said, even if he didn't, Real Clear Politics, which is the averages of all the polls, currently shows Trump winning the popular vote, which at no point Hillary or Biden has ever trailed Trump in. So, yeah, Hillary or Biden never trailed Trump in the popular vote, ever, on the Real Clear Politics. And Harris was trailing Trump in the popular vote for the better part of 2 weeks before the election. So that means that's really bad news for Harris, okay? And I said the betting market, wouldn't the smart money be on, if the betting markets, if they thought that if Harris was the one that was actually winning by this much, why would the betting markets be so much in favor of Trump? Wouldn't the smart money be on Harris? And then the one of the replies, some of the pro-Harris voters, have you looked at the betting markets? Trump is at 53, Harris 47. Trump's at 55, Harris 40. So this ended up going higher, by the way, before election night. This was like 65 to 35. Betting markets react to polls, but they also have a user base that's highly skewed in favor of Trump gamblers. Okay, but the thing is, like I said, if they really thought, okay, if Harris really had a chance of winning, why wouldn't they bet with Harris? Why would people willingly lose money? Like, they're putting real money on the line. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Harris supporter either. If anything, I'd be an independent because I'm not really in favor of either. I'm not really like totally in line with Democrats or Republicans. Like, I'm just kind of in the middle on some of their issues, right? So I can be called an independent because, okay, I don't like guns. That makes me, I guess, more towards the Democrats. But then I prefer lowering the national debt and lowering taxes. That makes me more towards Republicans, right? I'm in favor of abortion. That makes me more in favor of Democrats. But then, I'm also in favor of, having more economic liberty. So a smaller government and everything. So that makes me in favor of Republicans, right? So I have some things I disagree and agree on each side. So I'm an independent really. So I don't have any horse in the race, that's saying, right? I don't have any horse in the race. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Harris supporter. I'm legit independent because there's issues that I have with both parties. And there's issues I agree on, there's issues I disagree on with both parties. So if I was a U.S. citizen, which I'm not, but if I was, I would just be an independent. But regardless of that, like, I would have bet on Trump winning. I'm not a Trump supporter. I would have bet on Trump winning because that's what the data says. Like, this person thinks that you're gonna bet on a person just because you like them better. No, like, that's stupid, right? You're betting. When people bet money, that's real money. They're gonna bet on what they think is gonna happen. Like, I don't think that if, like, say, so Trump, right? Like, if he didn't actually have a good chance of winning, I don't think people would actually bet on him. Like, if Harris really had, like, a blue wave or whatever, landslide chance, then there's no way people would vote for Trump. Like, even Trump supporters, crypto fans, gamblers, they wouldn't be betting on Trump if he didn't have a good chance to win. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you willingly choose to lose your money like that? Of course, when you're gambling, you're gonna bet on the thing with a better chance, right? So it doesn't matter. In this case, the politics stuff doesn't matter. Like, obviously people saw that Trump had a better chance. That's why they're betting more on Trump. Okay, it just doesn't make sense for them to put their money on the person with the lower chance of winning, right? And no matter how much you hate Trump, okay? No matter how much you hate Trump, you're not going to lose money, right? Just because you want Harris to win. That's why I don't understand. Like, okay, betting markets, Trump 55, Harris 45. Those aren't so much in favor of Trump. Yeah, they are. You're talking about 10% difference. What do you mean those aren't so much in favor of Trump? Like, this person's delusional and highly skewed in favor of Trump. Again, what does betting markets have to do with political affiliation anyways? Like, if I'm betting on a market, I'm betting to make money, okay? I'm not betting to lose money no matter how I feel about Trump. Even if I hated Trump, I would still bet on him winning because he has the better chance to win. These people don't get it. I was telling them, I linked them this article from NBC. 2/3 of voters say the country's on the wrong track. That's a big sign that Kamala Harris is going to lose, right? I've never heard of the incumbent party be so unpopular, like with the Biden administration, that somehow the voters will still keep them in. It's never happened. Like, if you look throughout U.S. presidential history, every time the voters say the country's on the wrong track, like this majority of voters, they're going to get voted out. That's just what happens. So, yeah, 2/3 of voters say the country's on the wrong track. That's going to be very difficult for Harris to overcome, right? So that's something that, if you look back in history, Harry Truman, 1952, Lyndon Johnson / Hubert Humphrey in 1968, Jimmy Carter, 1980, right? Obviously, a kind of a similar thing where Jimmy Carter was dealing with high inflation, high unemployment as well. So at this time, at least you don't have the high unemployment, but you had high inflation. So that was a big issue. Jimmy Carter lost by a landslide. 1992, George H.W. Bush right? The U.S. just had like a recession at that time. Bill Clinton ended up winning. George W. Bush, his son, 2008 financial crisis, right? People obviously they were hurting, so they voted for the Democrat. And Obama ended up winning in a near landslide, I would say. Not really landslide, but near landslide. Yeah, 2/3 of voters say the country's on the wrong track. That's very bad news for Harris. And this guy didn't even want to believe it. He said half the voters on the wrong half, the other half is doing very well. Well, that's not what people are saying. 2/3 to 70% say it's on the wrong track. They're hurting because of the inflation. People don't get it. And by the way, yes, inflation rate has gone down to about 2% or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, the thing is, at the end of the day, people are going to see that the prices have become much higher than when Biden took office, right? So with the thing when it comes to inflation is people are looking at the percentages of the inflation like, oh, inflation rate is high, now it's low again. They don't look at that. At the end of the day, it's about how much they have left in their wallet. So it doesn't matter if inflation is 2% or 9% or whatever. At the end of the day, the prices are still higher than they were before, 4 years ago. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. So it doesn't matter that the inflation rate came down, right? They're still paying more for their stuff than they did before. This guy is really delusional. He said polls showed Clinton to win the election. She won the popular vote. Okay, and my point was Trump always outperforms polls. There's no evidence to suggest Kamala will outperforming polls, but there's evidence to support Trump outperforming his, right? And then he says, well, it simply shows polls are shit. Okay, and I said, I think you're in denial about this. And he says, no, Trump's not going to win. And then blah blah blah, all this stuff against Trump, and we're done. And he blocked me. Just to show you how many delusional Harris voters there are here, right? All the Corins, like, they just didn't want to believe that Trump was going to win. They just didn't want to believe it. They just tuned it out. They just put their ears in their fingers in their ears, and they closed their eyes, and they just did not want to believe that it was true. They just wanted to believe what they wanted to believe, right? It's like they just pay attention to the mainstream media telling them all the stuff about great stuff about Harris rallies and the Iowa poll, debate performance, Puerto Rico joke. Yeah, that's going to hurt Trump, right? Like, they just close their eyes and put their fingers in their ears, and they just ignore everything that's pro-Trump. All the data that's favoring Trump, they just ignore it. And then all the stuff that's pro-Harris, I guess, they just pay attention only to that stuff. So they're living in a bubble, okay? They're living in a bubble. Yeah, so this is the stuff that they said in the answers. All these highly upvoted answers on Quora. Americans couldn't possibly elect Trump again. That guy's a racist, liar, bigot, felon, etc. Yeah, they could. What are you talking about? People in America are stupid. Have you ever been on Twitter? I mean, X. Have you ever been on X? Like, I've seen so much ridiculously stupid stuff on there, and I take it from me, right? I talk about basketball stuff all the time. You know how many stupid ass LeBron James haters there are making these stupid memes every single day? They make these stupid ass memes that don't make any sense, and you have thousands and thousands of people liking the tweets, right? Thousands of people liking the tweets, thousands of people liking the Facebook posts, all the stupid stuff that all the stupid stuff that they create. So almost on a daily basis, because I like basketball, I follow a lot of basketball pages and groups, okay, and accounts. So almost on a daily basis, I see all these stupid LeBron James haters, like these Bron haters, and they're posting all the stupid shit that's like, it's misinformation, it's lies. They're spreading all these childish memes that don't make any sense, and they're getting tons and tons of likes. And that just tells me that there's a lot of idiots out there. Yeah, I already know. There's a ton of idiots online. Like, some of the stuff is just ridiculous, right? It's just like a picture of LeBron, like a baby crying or whatever. Jordan's up here and LeBron's down here, and LeBron's like a baby crying. Like, and then you got like 10,000 people liking this shit. And I was like, dude, this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen. And you got people liking it like that, like, ridiculous. And then whenever I try to make a logical post about things, to show them the stats and everything, people don't care about that. They just put a laughing emoji on there. So I'm telling people the stats, right? LeBron stats, right? Versus Kobe stats, say, right? I don't like Kobe that much. So Kobe stats down here, I have LeBron stats, like, obviously LeBron's better than Kobe in every level, right? Like, just look at what LeBron did. And Kobe choked here, and LeBron's obviously like better this, that, in this category, and nobody cares about this stuff. They don't listen to me. Just put a laugh emoji on my post, and then they say, "Oh, you're a brown sexual," blah 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 blah. Like, these people are idiots, man. It tells you how many stupid ass idiots are online. So yes, I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, can America elect a felon, a convicted felon, to the presidential office? Yes, of course they could. Yeah, basically just because the economy, essentially. But I know Harris overall, I felt like she did as well as she could because she had a very limited amount of time. She did as well as she could. Could she have picked a better VP? Yeah, I think she could have picked Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, instead of Tim Walz. But I don't think it would have made a big difference either. I don't think that she should have said that. Like the thing is, on The View, that show, she said that she couldn't think of anything she would do differently than Biden. That's a mistake. I think that voters are really looking for, is she going to be a change? Because people want change, right? 70%, 66, 70% of voters think the country's on the wrong path. They want change. And Harris is here saying that she just do the same thing as Biden would do. And obviously that's a huge mistake. So I think she shouldn't have said that. She should have done more to kind of differentiate herself from Biden. But the thing is, Harris was kind of fighting a losing battle to begin with. It was really an uphill battle for her because of the economy and inflation and everything. So I think, could she have done better? Yes, but I don't think would it matter. Like, it's tough. Like, I think she would have lost no matter what, honestly, because it's just too tough to the inflation, economy, and the immigration stuff, the immigration policy and the inflation, like that stuff is so hard for Harris to overcome. So I don't think that she would have I don't think anything Harris could have done to overcome that. So I think that just she did the best she could, but yeah, honestly, I don't think she really had that much of a chance because she was starting like at such a disadvantage. Yeah, it's any Democrat actually, not just Harris, any Democrat was starting at such a disadvantage compared to Republicans in today's climate. So yeah, that's my take on Kamala Harris. As to Trump being elected again, like, people didn't care that he was a felon. Like, yes, they would elect him again because they want change, and they want change that badly. They want change that badly to where they would want to elect Trump again. Because they really felt like it was better 4 years ago. It's really that simple. Yeah, if there's one single question, I just ask American voters: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? That's a question Ronald Reagan asked, right? When he was with Jimmy Carter, it's the same thing, right? People suffered during Jimmy Carter's administration. Ronald Reagan asked, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Simple, right? If the answer is yes, then keep the incumbent in. If the answer is no, then you change out the party. That's what happened, right? It doesn't matter what Harris would have done, or Biden. Obviously, Biden would have lost more, but yeah, Biden should have dropped out sooner, probably, but it really doesn't matter. I think that no matter what, the Democrats were going to lose because it's just people are thinking the country's on the wrong track. There's really nothing they can do about this. Yeah, I mean, the inflation already happened, right? Immigration policy already happened. There's nothing you can do to change that. So Democrats, this was an election for the Democrats to lose. I don't think there's really much they could have done about that. Yeah, people would have voted for a felon back in office because they want to change that badly. And yeah, a lot of Americans are idiots. We know that. I know that. Just talking to people online, I know from all the stupid LeBron James haters, I know how many, and Kobe fans too. Kobe fans, LeBron James haters. I know how many stupid Americans there are out there. So many idiots out there. So I'm not surprised about that. Okay, polls are inaccurate. They're overestimating Trump. That's what some people say. They're baking the Trump effect in. No, they're not. I don't see the polls baking the Trump effect in. Yeah, it's just, I didn't see them bake the Trump effect in. Obviously they didn't, because you saw Trump outperformed his polls again. Polls are not correctly forecasting Harris's huge margin amongst young women voters. That's what some people said in the Quora answers. The thing is, young women voters, yes, they did come out for Harris, but not by as much as they came out for Biden. So her margin actually shrunk from the Clinton-Biden elections for young women, and it's been countered by an even bigger margin for young male voters breaking for Trump. So the story here is that Trump got a lot of young guys voting for him. Yeah, Latinos, black guys, white guys, obviously. He just got all the young guys voting for him. So, and I was telling this to people on Quora, and they didn't want to believe it. They just like plugged their ears. They didn't want to believe everything that I was telling them. Okay, betting markets are pro-Trump. This is what the person was saying. They don't have to be citizens, so they're not accurate. Okay, again, why would people want to lose money if they thought Harris had a better chance to win? Even if you're pro-Trump, you're dumping a lot of money on Trump. Why would you purposely want to lose your money? Like, if you knew that Harris had a good chance to win, why would you put so much money on Trump? It doesn't make sense, right? You put money on Trump because you think he's going to win. It doesn't matter how pro-Trump or anti-Trump you are. If you're a bettor, this is just being a bettor, and I'm a bettor too. I gambled a lot on NBA bets, and political bets before. I didn't really bet this time, but in the past I've done a lot of it. Like, you put aside your party official, you put aside who you like better, okay? You put aside who you like better. You bet on the better chance for you to make money. That's all that matters when it comes to betting, okay? You bet to win money, not to lose money, okay? It doesn't matter how much you like or dislike the fact that whoever is going to win. You bet to make money, okay? Like I said, I don't like Trump, but Trump has the better chance to win. I'm putting my bets on Trump. Yeah, I do not care about how much I hate the fact that Trump is going to win. The thing is, you want to make money. That's the sole purpose of betting, is you want to make money out of it. You don't want to lose money. So these people don't get it. It has nothing to do like with being pro-Trump or anti-Trump or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. Like, the purpose of betting is to win money. It's like, yeah, has nothing. You put aside whoever you think are. You put aside your like emotional things, right? About, oh, I don't like this guy, I don't like her, I don't like him. You put aside all that, you bet to win money, okay? That's what it comes down to. Okay, and then some people said, maybe there's a silent Harris voters, like the silent Trump voter effect. Okay, there is a silent Trump voter effect, like I said, right? People don't like to say they're voting for Trump because they're afraid of getting publicly backlashed and shamed for it. Okay, why would there be silent Harris voters? Like, people are saying that, oh, there's a silent Harris voters effect. It could be underestimating Harris. Why? Why would there be silent Harris voters? Like, all the social media I've seen, they're proud to be Harris voters. Why would you want to hide that? Like, Harris is a solid, like, there's nothing, she has no scandals, like, there's no reason not to show your support for her, right? She has no issues with her. But Trump, there's a reason to hide your vote for Trump, because, I mean, there's a reason to tell people that you're not voting for Trump, because if you tell them you're voting for Trump, they might think that you're a racist, you're misogynist, you're bigot, etc. Oh, why are you voting for a convicted criminal, etc. There's all a bunch of reasons why people might not tell you they're voting for Trump. There's no reason to tell you that you're not voting for Harris. Like, there's no issue with her. Why would you want to hide that, right? All I've seen on social media is people proud to be Harris voters. But Trump, his vote is actually suppressed. It's always been suppressed because people don't want to go out and say that they're voting for Trump because they get backlash for it. So there's no silent Harris voters. It doesn't make any sense to be there. It doesn't make sense for there to be any silent Harris voters. Okay, but everyone I know around me, even Republicans are voting Harris, again, selection bias. You surrounded yourself with people who are likely to agree with yourself, right? I have a friend who's like this. He bases all of his opinions, which he thinks are actually facts, on the fact that people around him all think like him. So he's like, oh, this is, everyone around me didn't like this, and I don't like it either. So that means that this is objectively worse. Or he's like talking about a movie or a game. He's like, yeah, I don't like this one. Everyone around me doesn't like it, and that means it's objectively bad. And this is a selection bias thing. You're surrounding yourself with people that thinks like you. It doesn't mean that everyone thinks like that, right? So, yeah, I have a friend that he's like this all the time. He uses his personal observations as basically the truth, the hard truth, right? So if he sees something and everyone else is like, agreeing with him, then he thinks that everyone's like that. Yeah, It's like, oh yeah, this game is bad, this movie is bad, because I don't like it and everyone else agrees with me. That means everyone doesn't like it, right? That means nobody can like it. That means it's objectively bad. See, that's a selection bias. You're surrounding yourself with people who are agreeing with yourself, and because of that, that's why you're putting yourself in a bubble, right? You're putting yourself in a bubble, and you're not seeing the world the way, you're not looking at the statistics. That's why I go back to the statistics every time, the data, because statistics don't have a bias, right? Statistics is statistics. They don't really have a bias. But if you're going by your personal opinion and people's opinions around you, you have a bias. You have a bias when you're surrounding yourself with people who are agreeing with yourself. So that's a bias. I trust stats and data and numbers because they generally don't have a bias. They could be skewed in a certain way, but generally numbers don't really have a bias, But people do. People have a bias. And yeah, another thing is that I see a lot of Democrats kind of blaming the fact that Harris lost on the fact that she was a woman and a colored woman, and that's just totally off the mark, okay? It's the same thing when Hillary lost. People just blamed it on the, misogynists and like the racists and stuff, but no, that's not the case. Again, Democrats don't seem to understand this. It's not about the gender stuff. It's not about the race stuff. Yeah, maybe, of course, there's going to be some people out there who are going to vote against her because she's a woman and because she's black. But that's like a minority of people, because we know that Barack Obama won the election twice in the US, right? He was a black man, half black, but whatever, so was Kamala. Barack Obama won 2 elections very decisively in the US, okay? And actually his 2008 win was probably the most decisive election win of the 21st century, actually. So people, yeah, it's not that they're racist. And the women thing, like Clinton got the popular vote. Hillary Clinton got the popular vote. Kamala Harris couldn't. It's not the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't a woman. I mean, obviously Hillary Clinton got the popular vote. So, yeah, I don't think it's the fact that she's black or a woman. It's the issues. It's the economy. It's the fact that she's associated with the Biden administration. That's the issue here. I mean, she did about as well as she could, like I said, but it just wasn't winnable for her. Yeah, she started out fighting that uphill battle because she's the VP, the VP of the current administration, which is deeply unpopular. Okay, like I said, 70% of voters said the country is on the wrong track. So, I don't know, you're associated with that administration, so, you're really fighting an uphill battle here. So it's stupid to blame the women card or the race card when you just look at the real issues, right? The economics. Like, yeah, it's obviously the economy. Yeah, that's the thing is the Democrats are so why did the mainstream talking heads not know about this? It's so stupid. It's obviously the economy, okay? That's why she lost. It's obviously the economy and the unpopular administration. That's the main reasons. It's simple, okay? Not because of a lot of haters or whatever. Like, the fact of the matter is young voters voted for Trump, okay? And, when you talk about racists and misogynists, you usually think about the older people, right? But no, the young voters actually broke for Trump, and Gen Z, broke for Trump. So I don't think they're all racist and misogynists or whatever. It's just, yeah, the issues, right? It's always been about the issues. People don't understand. It's not about the person. It's about the issues. Democrats don't understand this. I don't know if they'll ever understand that. Why would Americans vote for Trump again? Inflation is the main issue. The economy. Unemployment rate is not so bad right now, but it's mainly the inflation. And like I said, people vote with their wallets. So at the end of the day, yeah, inflation rate went down to 2% again. It doesn't matter. It's still higher than it was 4 years ago, right? So that's the key thing here. They're comparing it with 4 years ago. They're comparing it with the Trump times. Immigration, border policy, right? A lot of immigrants and everything. They think that Trump has a stronger image in the world to stand up against Putin, stand up against Ukraine, stand up against the Israel, right? Israel is committing the genocide, right, in Palestine, and Kamala Harris in the Democrats, like they're just supporting Israel, even though Israel's doing all this crap to Palestine, right? They're 40,000 people died, all of them, a lot of them children and stuff like that. They never want to talk about that. I've seen this I've seen how left-leaning the media can be, right? When I looked at NBC News, left-leaning media, they're all like, yeah, okay, Israel bombed another 1,000 people died in Palestine from Israel bombing, and then they don't say anything else about it. And then if like 1 or 2 people died in Israel, they're like, oh, but this is huge. They need to get revenge, and Hamas needs to be taken care of, and they need to be annihilated. Oh, look how bad 1 or 2 people died in Israel. It's so bad. The people, and they interviewed the people, and like the hostages, right? There's like 1 or 2 hostages they interviewed, and oh, look how much they suffered and everything. Okay, what about the thousands of people that Israel killed? Like, you don't talk about them. Like, do you only have like one line about 1,000 people dying in Palestine because of Israel's attacks, and then you give the entire headline to this one Israel person that was captured? Like, that's bias, okay? That's bias. That's just like what I talked about, 10 years? A little bit less than 10 years ago. I talked about the ISIS attacks on Paris, right? So ISIS attacks on Paris or Brussels or whatever. Okay, yeah, we get a bunch of people died in Paris and Brussels and stuff, but they give like all these headlines to the Paris and Brussels attack. Guess what? ISIS was killing tons of more people in the Middle East. Nobody cared about them. So nobody cared about the people that ISIS killed in the Middle East, but they cared so much about the people that died in the Western countries like Europe. So that's bias, okay? You're biasing yourself to the white people, to the Western countries. And this is another bias that's going on here. You're biasing yourself to Israelis. And I don't like that, right? That's the issue with the Democrats is, why are you supporting Israel's genocide, okay? They killed like 10 times more people in Gaza than Hamas ever did to Israel. You don't care about that? Like, yeah, anyways, I can't get behind that. I understand if people are angry about this, about Israel and Ukraine and Russia, they think that Trump is better to stand up to that. I completely get it. So anyways, yeah, there's some reasons why America would vote for Trump again. They didn't care that he was a felon. They didn't care that he was a racist or misogynist or bigot or whatever, because it's about the issues, okay? The issues are more important, not the person, okay? So yeah, that's the thing. Like, Democrats, Harris voters, they all thought that people would never vote for Trump because, oh, he's such a terrible person. Yeah, they don't get it. It's not about the person, it's about the issues. They don't get it. Anyways, just wanted to rant about the election, okay? I wasn't surprised that Trump won, okay? Not like 2016, I was surprised. 2024, not so much. I understand it. What's next for the next 4 years? No idea. Trump he's unpredictable. Who knows? I have no idea. We'll see what happens. That's all I gotta say. I'm not really supporting Trump. Personally, I don't like him. He's obviously really crazy person. He's smart in some ways, but not smart in other ways. Okay, IQ wise, he's not smart because he uses the same words all the time. He doesn't really have a big vocabulary, and he goes through like mental lapses a lot. So obviously his IQ is not that high, but there's something about him. He has charisma though. He has the ability to pull people in. So that's something. It's not like he's not smart in a book sense, but he's smart in another way, where he can attract people to get to agree with him. So I think that's another talent that he has. So anyways, I don't like Trump as a person, but I do admire the fact that he's able to get so many people to agree with what he's saying. That's a talent, right? That's a political talent. So anyways, yep. And he's done all this crazy stuff, and people didn't care. People literally didn't care about any of the stuff that he did, and that really is a talent, right? Like, can you imagine if a Democrat I don't know, like Obama, Harris, Hillary. Imagine if they did like 10% of the stuff that Trump did. I can't imagine, right? Like people would just, yeah, like Hillary and her emails, right? Oh, the emails, right? That was just like one thing that she did, and that ruined her entire election or whatever. Torpedoed her election. For Trump, he says all this crazy stuff all the time, and none of them ever has an effect. So, anyways, it's crazy. The guy is like impervious to any. Well, if he gets elected, I guess he's pardoning himself of the crimes too. So, anyways, yeah, the guy's just able to get away with anything, I guess, which is actually an incredible talent. So, I admire him for that. All right, so Richard Nixon, right? Richard Nixon is considered to be one of the most corrupt presidents in U.S. history. He had to resign because of the Watergate scandal, okay? And the Watergate scandal, for these guys who don't know, is when he tried to cover up a break-in to the Democratic complex in order to obtain information for the 1972 election, which he won by a landslide, by the way. So, yeah, like, that thing seems like very minor compared to what Trump did. I mean, Nixon had to resign because of that, because he was going to get impeached and removed from office. So he had to resign, and he's the only president to ever resign the office. But Trump, I mean, he got impeached twice, and the second time was for inciting insurrection. So he attempted a self coup d'état, basically. Like imagine attempting a coup d'état and then people re-electing you after that. Like it's insane. Like he was able to get away with that. So I mean, really, if he can get away with that, he can get away with anything, right? Like he literally tried to overthrow democracy, and he still gets re-elected after that. Like it's insane, right? Be like if yeah, any other country. I mean, I just can't imagine it happening. So yeah. Anyways, it's crazy what Trump has been able to get away with. He's amazing in that sense. It's some sort of political talent. I swear it has to be some sort of political talent that he's able to get away with all this. Yeah, I think there was like this one town hall Q&A session where like the attendees there were supposed to ask Trump questions, right? He ended up just making them listen to his music for like 40 minutes. So yeah, because I think at this point, Trump is like, yeah, whatever the heck I do, it doesn't matter anymore, right? There's no consequences. So Trump can just literally just get away with pretty much anything with no negative consequences. So yeah, I mean, he just does whatever he wants, and it won't affect him negatively. So he's just kind of taking advantage of that. So yeah, like I said, this is a pretty interesting talent, and to be able to get away with that. So, I mean, yeah, he got he was convicted of all these crimes, and then he got the justice system to kind of like to postpone, I guess, being able to like being forced to serve in prison or whatever. He got them to postpone the sentencing. Yeah. So he got the justice system to postpone his sentencing until after the election, which he won, and now he doesn't have to serve those terms anymore, because apparently as president, he can now just pardon himself, I guess, and he can use his presidential powers to basically escape from any kind of criminal case. So, so man, what a guy, right? Like just being able to do all this stuff is pretty insane. But hey, like I said, I really think it's really interesting for him, like the way he's able to get away with all this stuff. I don't think any other president or any other person in America is able to get away with this stuff, and he's able to get away with it, which is amazing, actually. He's literally able to get away with stuff no one else can get away with. So anyways, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the 2024 election. So yeah, different than the 2016 reaction, I know. 2016, I was very shocked. 2024, not so shocked. Just, yeah. Just, hey, it is the way it is. Do you feel bad for Democrats? No. A little bit, but like, it's part of their own fault too for not really realizing the real problems in their party. So not really. But hey. So yeah, the TLDR on this is, so Democrats lost for a number of reasons, I think most of which is not really related to Kamala Harris. So honestly, like, yeah, like there's a lot of issues going on, but I think she did probably the best she could. I mean, sure, like she could have picked Josh Shapiro as VP. She could have not made that gaffe on The View where she talked. She said that she couldn't think of anything she would do differently than Biden. Yeah, I mean, there's that stuff, but I don't think it would have mattered because the problem is the problems with the Democrats is already baked in, and it doesn't matter. I don't think who would have run. Obviously, if Biden had run, it would have been even worse. But I really can't think of anyone the Democrats could have picked that really could have won. Like the problem is like the issues at hand, right? Inflation. People really care about the fact that they're paying more for everything. So who's going to fix that? The nominee. It doesn't matter who you pick from the Democrat side. It's not going to fix that, right? The border issue. People felt like, yeah, there's too many immigrants coming in that didn't deserve, I guess, to enter the U.S. because they're illegal or for some other reason. So a lot of people cared about that. Border policy and the war in the Middle East with Israel versus Hamas, as well as Russia, Ukraine. They felt like maybe Democrats was a bit too much on the woke stuff, right? The transgender policies and everything. Probably made a bigger deal of that than it actually is, but still, that's an issue to some voters. So I think a lot of issue with the Democratic Party is already baked in. It doesn't really like matter which nominee they picked. They would have had the same issues. So I don't think that any of it's really related to Kamala Harris. Again, she only had like 100 days, so it doesn't matter though. Like Biden dropped out sooner. Okay, if he dropped out sooner, like say he didn't run for re-election, okay, then his replacement, it doesn't matter, right? Like whoever was going to replace Biden, let's say Biden dropped out and didn't seek a second term, okay, who could they have picked like that would fix all these issues? Nobody. Like it doesn't matter who you pick, inflation's still going to be a problem. The border policy is still going to be a problem. The Russia, Ukraine, the Israel, all that's still going to be a problem no matter who you pick from the Democrat side, unless they realize these issues and they pick like a really outsider looking Democrat like Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is probably the only person that could probably stand a chance against Donald Trump because he's more of a populist type as well. He's kind of anti-establishment, and I think the Democrats have to go with anti-establishment because they're kind of seen as the party of the elites right now. And that's part of the reason, like, you see all these minorities breaking for Trump, right? You see all the young voters breaking for Trump. You see Latinos, now black men as well breaking for Trump. Like, you see all these different former Democratic voters kind of breaking for Trump now. It's because Democrats lost those voters. So, yeah, I really do think that the Democratic Party needs to improve some things. Yeah, the only nominee I think that would have stood a chance is probably Bernie Sanders because he's very anti-establishment type. So the Democrats really need an anti-establishment type on their side because the rest of them is like people are just going to associate them with the Democratic Party's like policy failures. So yeah, that's the real issue here. I don't think it's really anything that Trump did. So like to be honest, like I said, I think any Republican could have won this election. Trump is honestly it was close because of who Trump is, right? And that was one of the reasons actually it was sort of close. But I think that any Republican could have won and beat the Democratic nominee, in this case Harris, because like the problems the Democrats had were already baked into this election. So it was really hard for any Democrat to win. And the Republicans really didn't have to do much. Like, yeah, for me, like, what did Trump have to do, really? Like, he probably said all the bad things that he could have said. The immigrants eating cats and dogs and stuff like that. Like, he said all the crazy stuff and did all the crazy stuff. It didn't matter because, like, it didn't matter what the Republicans did because the Republicans don't even have to do anything. Like, it's the Democrats' fault, really. Like, the issues of the election are really all related to the Democratic side. So it was really up to Democrats to, I think the Democrats could have run an anti-establishment candidate. That's probably the best they could do. If you were to ask me, like, what could the Democratic Party have done better in this situation? Run Bernie Sanders, run an anti-establishment candidate. That's probably the best chance that they had. And obviously they didn't, so they blew that chance. They ran Harris, who is an establishment candidate. So Yeah, and the Republicans didn't have to do anything on their side. Trump didn't have to do anything to convince voters. He didn't really have to. Like, the election was just people were angry at the situation that they were in. 70% of the country said they're on the wrong track. So no matter what the Republican nominee did, I think he would have won the election. So yeah, Republicans. So yeah, I think this was an easy election for the Republicans to win because all the voters were fed up with the current administration and they blamed everything on Democrats. They blamed Democrats for their current situation, and Republicans didn't even have to do anything, and voters will vote for them because they want to change. So yeah, I mean that's basically my take on this. Is there's really not much that Democrats could have done in this election other than probably run an anti-establishment candidate like Bernie Sanders. But even then, they're facing an uphill battle, because yeah, like the voters associate the current administration with most of their issues, and yeah, it's an uphill battle for the Democrats to win anything. We'll see what the next 4 years is like. It's going to be crazy 4 years for sure. That's all I can say. So that's it, guys. My thoughts on the 2024 election. I usually don't talk politics, but I thought, this time I might do another video since it's Donald Trump winning again. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the next 4 years. So guys, let me know what you guys think of Donald Trump winning the 2024 election in the comment section below. And yes, he won the popular vote, he won the Senate, and he might win the House as well. So he has an absolute mandate to do whatever. And he has the Supreme Court justice and everything on his side too. So basically, Trump controls everything. He has absolute mandate to do whatever he wants now. So next 4 years are going to be crazy. So anyways, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the election in the comment section below. And yep, that's it, guys. As always, thanks for watching.